Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, your traveling futurist, and we are in Cuba. You know, when you look around here in Cuba, you see a lot of stuff, a lot of items that are old. For instance, most of the cars that are here actually derive from 1950s, the time before the revolution. And even the newer ones are perhaps from the Soviet Union, like old Ladas. But they are here the masters of circular economy. They use all of those parts to the fullest. And this is, of course, arising out of the necessity. But when you think about the sustainability agenda that we have for the societies, for the companies, for the individuals, it is about how do we sustain our material production and consumption. Meaning, how do we give more life to the materials we are using? To learn how to deal with that type of the challenge, you need to come to Cuba, because Cuba reminds everything about that we don't have things to plunder. We don't have endless amount of the resources, at least when it comes to these very material resources. And so they remind us that what do we do when we really need to look that we are not just taking everything from the shelf for the moment we need that, we put the money down and that's it. Because in the future, we need to have this in a very different way. We need to be really intelligent to the way that we are using our resources. And only through that, the real sustainability comes. And of course, when we think, who are the ones that are doing that? In Europe, in United States, in Asia, in South America, in Africa, all over the world. Then we need to look at those particular examples. Now, as I said, this Cuba, in a way, is an example of sustainability when it comes to the use of the material resources. So they have a lot of learning here that actually could sort of export it, could be well exported to the other countries. But I want to actually raise an example of another company that I some time ago investigated with my research team because we were so impressed about the sustainability agenda of that company. And I'm talking about the company that many of you might be at least a little bit familiar, but most of you don't know what they have been really doing with the sustainability agenda. I'm talking about the company called Patagonia. Patagonia is an American company based in California, Ventura, but it was actually the very foundation of the sustainability that brought this company alive back in the 1970s. This guy was Yvon Chouinard, the guy that was passionate, nature lover, wanted to go out in the nature to explore, whether walking through the deserts, whether going to the rivers, whether going and climbing up the mountains. But he found time and again that he doesn't find the proper gears. Those type of the gears that really last long. Nobody had designed them. Or if they had been designed, that's already a long time in the past. So then he sort of found out with his company on the basis of let's make a good quality stuff that last long, that are well thought objects. And so his story began, and today the company is well known as a global brand for all types of outdoor garment, wear, and well, all kinds of stuff. But what differentiates this company from the others is that they have had the sustainability on their agenda now for 40 years. And they have been pretty successful in doing that. Because what has happened is that their practices that they have, many of them, it's actually those practices that they have initiated and then they later spread to other companies. For instance, this idea that if a company is producing something to wear, outdoor garments, that almost all that material can come from recycled material, not fresh, but recycled material. This is in fact what they are doing today, but they have been doing that for a long time. Because their principle is do as little harm as you can for the environment. And that principle then follows that if there is a solution that enables to use less natural resources, they're gonna be doing that. Even if that thing costs more, even if it takes away some of their profits, they want to do that. So they have been building this type of the agenda, also about how you can take the clothes and the garments back to the shop after you've used them, or you have grown tired to them, and yes, they take it, they pay you a little for that, and they recycle it and make a new garments, or then they sell the old garments in their store. They have tried to put into the practice what many preach, but very few do, which is that you need to integrate the circularity and the sustainability in every phase of your business. That has also meant that a lot of the contractors have already also gone to that agenda. That they have already started to also to follow some of those practices, because of course any company is always working in an ecosystem where there are a lot of other partners, other nodes. Of course, their goal has to be that not only they are operating sustainably, but also the whole ecosystem is doing that. Of course, they are not perfect, but they have been striving to do that for so many years. And the result is actually very interesting, because the result is that they get very loyal employees, because the employees feel that, well, this is the particular company for those people that really have the mission of saving the world, so they can work for that company. But also the customers seems to be as loyal as they can be in this world, because they want to be a part of that brand that tells something about the shortcoming of our current business systems. And of course, if you can demonstrate the ethical integrity of you as a human being while buying a piece of garment or piece of gadget, of course you have come a long way of not just going to the shop and picking up anything that looks good on you. So from that perspective, the sustainability agenda has really been pioneered by Patagonia. They have done a great job with that and show the world that yes, it's time, it's an era for those type of the companies that show some ethical stamina and are able to live up to that. And not only they are doing this to harness their own emissions and harness their own sort of harm doing, but also to show the others what can be done. And I think that's a very important aspect of that, because the world always needs this type of the pioneers that show the way to the future, so that the others can follow, see how they can apply those principles and those practices to themselves. And this is exactly what Patagonia has done with their pioneering work on sustainability. So I strongly advise you to look at them, what they are actually doing, how they do that, why they do that. And that is a very good learning for all of us to become a much more patient and conscious consumers. Subscribe to my channel and see the other topics of sustainability.